Let the recording begins. Yeah. Hello, everyone. A warm welcome to our sixth meeting. Right. It's like a very informal group, informal talks and few sessions. And so it's very casual. It's not a very formal kind of a thing. Okay. So feel free in case you have to say anything, you want to talk about anything. It's your community, your show. We are more than welcome to answer, listen to any question and all. Okay. So today we are going to have two sessions. One is AATP product allocation, which is a functional one by Rutvik. So thanks Rutvik for coming up and nominating for it. And second will be by Gaurav Karkara, which is related to S4HANA output management. That will be typically related to how those outputs are triggered. For example, like earlier it was, I believe, NACE, and now I think S4HANA has something new. Let Gaurav walk us through it, right? So before I hand it over to Rutvik, I just wanted to talk about one more thing is because normally what we see is that we have people joining us, on an average, these many people join us, right? And what I feel is that normally we are communicating or informing everyone via email that okay, this is a session on Saturday, so and so. And many times I've seen people, they are coming back to us and telling us that they did not get the reminder or there was something missed, right? I think email has still lagging, right? The conversion rate of emails to, because there are a set of people who wants to come but they don't get a reminder and all, that's why, right? So I thought maybe we can have a list of maybe we'll make now a common WhatsApp group. We'll keep on making it, enhancing it as long as people who joins. And what will happen is that in that WhatsApp group, it will be only relevant for Samtish India and typically our typical knowledge sharing and all, but no spamming and nothing. But that what will help is that it will help people in getting the notification just before time. For example, before this session start, I can just ping and any one of us can ping and share those links, and some of you might join. So that is the intent. And for that, I don't want anyone to put any number on this chat because it is being recorded, right? And I don't want your number to be get spammed later and you coming back to me, right? So better is, in case anyone is interested, you just mail me or you have my WhatsApp number in the emails. I'll start making the group. That will be just simply SAP Stamptish India. Purpose is very clear, all about knowledge sharing, learning, and intimations, and nothing about any promotions, paid promotions, or whatever this exists. Everything is all about community. Okay. So without wasting further much time, anyone has any query, question?
Nibit, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, I have to go somewhere. Rutvik will take first session. I will take the second one. Okay.
Yeah, man.
Uh,
Yeah, perfectly
okay.
fine.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So we will start if in case nobody has any question. Rutvik, over to you. Maybe you can share your screen
Yeah.
and start, man.
Uh, Hope you are able to see my screen.
We're waiting. Yeah, it's loading. It's loading. Good.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So once again, everyone, warm welcome to SAP Stamptish India. So based on timelines, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And today we will be talking about one of the functional topic and one of the advanced functionalities of S4HANA logistics point of view, that is advanced availability to promise. So in advanced availability to promise, we are having, okay, so we'll see. So first we will understand what is advanced availability to promise. And then one of the components, so today we are going to discuss about one of the component of advanced availability to promise, that is product allocation. And then in system, we'll be seeing what are the configuration aspects required in order to achieve this functionality, and how the product will help in the business scenarios, we will understand. So first of all, what is AATP? So basically, so before going into deep, so let's understand basically what is availability to promise. So now we are talking about advanced availability to promise. So prior to that, we are having availability to promise, where in logistics we used to use the component for basic material availability check and all we used to use. So in supply chain, that is in SCM point, we are having GATP. So in SCM, we are having GATP. So global availability to promise, GATP is there. So what happens? So now SAP is getting withdrawn the support of SCM with the 2027 plus 3 years of support. So few components of SCM like PPDS and GATP are getting migrated into S4HANA box. So as part of that migration, so GATP functionalities, so not entire GATP, few GATP functionalities are getting migrated. So not at the moment, still with the 6th wave of S4HANA release, still the few of the components. So every year, every version by version, few of the components are getting integrated into S4HANA box. So as part of that, we are now GATP components are getting migrated into S4HANA as AATP with furthermore functionalities compared to GATP. Furthermore functionalities are there. So in order to see what are those functionalities and all, so basically AATP will be helpful in order to do the back order processing. So that is one of the components. So we can use to allocate, means to prioritize the orders based on the customer prioritization and all. And also with the help of applications, Fury apps, we can do the release for delivery. So we are having some of the applications where we can use for releasing the deliveries and all. And also which will help. So previously you want to do the availability check, means at individual material level or order level only we can do, but with the help of AATP we can do the mass availability check. So and also use case driven product allocation check. So not only the standard allocation check, so we are having use cases. So based on individual customer requirements or individual special scenario level also we can do the allocation check. And also some of the advanced functionalities like easy to use simulation apps are also available. So prior to taking the decision, like as I said, right, so back order processing. So before prioritizing some of the orders or before giving the priority some to the X and Y customer, so we can do the simulation. So once we run the simulation, we can get to the an idea, okay, if we are going with this type of business process, so how many orders are getting prioritized and all we can see. So in that type of advanced functionalities are there. And also integration to the transport management. So also we are having integration to the transport management. So that is a little bit overview about advanced availability to promise. So as I mentioned, every year by year, right? So every year by year, the functionalities or the innovations in the AATP are getting increased. So it has all the way it has been started in 1709 version. The AATP has been introduced into S4HANA box. So at the moment we are having 4 products. So one is product availability check and product allocation, back order processing, and release for delivery. So these are the 4 products which at the moment in 2020 FPS1, these are the 4 products we are having. So now out of that, we are talking about the product allocation. So in order to activate, so first of all, we'll see what, so in order to activate advanced availability promise, there is one configuration aspect is required. And in order to get the product allocation or back order processing and all, we are having a different aspect. So first of all, in order to get any components like back order processing or advanced product allocation, release for delivery, right? So in order to get that, first of all, we need to activate the advanced availability check at individual availability checking group. So in order to do that, we are having the configuration. So anyhow, this I will be showing in the system once again. So at each availability checking group also you can activate. So not at entire system level. So we can activate the availability advanced AATP at the checking group. So at individual checking group also we can activate. So now coming to the product allocation. So first of all, what is the business requirement or why this particular product allocation is required in order to do the, in order to help in what aspects this particular product allocation will help the business if you want to take. So let me take a small example. So you are a company A who is manufacturing laptops. So you are manufacturing a laptops and your factory capacity is only you can manufacture, so let's say 1000. So just an example. So only you can manufacture 1000 laptops and you are having almost like 5 customers are there. So you are having 5 dedicated customers. So you can, how many orders might come? So each customer can say, okay, you are having customer A, B, C, and D. So you're having, and E. So you're having all these 5 customers. So how much your customer is ordering also doesn't matter, because your factory capacity is only 1000 pieces. So now what you have to do, so you need to allocate. So each month wise or each week wise. So what happens at each month wise or week wise or yearly or day wise? So you need to allocate. Okay, out of this 1000, how much will be going to the customer A, and how much will be going to the customer C, and how much will be going to the customer E? You need to allocate. So in order to do that, so what happens? So for example, so customer A is there, B, C, D, and E. So these are the 5 customers are there. So at each month level, so if we go at each month level, E. So right now we are in the month of May, June, July. So let's take only 3 months. So out of this 1000, you need to allocate. Okay, let me keep over here. Okay. So for customer A, you will be allocating, okay, let's say for customer A, I will be allocating 100, 200, and 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So now this is the allocation which you have done. So now total is 1000. So this is the allocation you have done. So now what happened? Your customer A has given you an order saying that I want 1500 sorry 150 pieces I want in order to do the business. He has requested you, I want 150 pieces, but system will only allow you to do the delivery of 100 in the month of May, and remaining 50 will be taken from the month of June. So in that way it will be happening. So now you may have a question, okay, so what happened? So what will happen to the remaining 50? Or if let's say the customer A has given 150 pieces, means okay, so 50 is be left out. So in that case, what happens? So now there is an option saying that how many months you can forward the allocation, how many months you can allocate in the past. So past and future, how many months it can go forward you are having. So in the activation or in the process steps, you can segregate. Okay, for each allocation, you can take 2 months forward and 2 months backward. So now what happened? So system will allow you to deliver the month of May 100, and remaining 50 pieces will be taken from the June. So June month allocation it will be taking. So because this schedule lines will be delivered as per that one, because based on the schedule lines only we can do the delivery, right? So in that way it will happen. So let's say for an example, okay, in the month of May, customer A has not shown his requirement, so he has not given any order. So that left out 100 pieces will be carry forward. So in the month of June, he can order 150 pieces. So in that way, this particular product allocation will be helpful. So what happens? So which is having certain factory capacity limits are there. So even how many orders are comes also, they cannot satisfy all the customers. So then we will go with this type of allocation.
So Rutvik, it's like it has to be static, or is it like somehow there is this input, is this forecast or something is generated by the system?
Yeah, it's based on the forecast, not static. So based on the forecast, we can give. So each customer, how much we want to allocate, we can do it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And it can, so this, because this forecasting is also how intelligent it is.
So forecasting.
Forgive me if it is a very dumb question, because I'm a technical guy. Yeah.
Yeah, forecasting can be with 3 aspects. So either you can do manual forecasting based on the history, what is this each month, how much it is coming, based on that the manual inputs can be given, or else with the help of IBP, integrated business planning, also we can get the figures from the IBP and we can input those figures into this allocation, individual allocation. So at each week wise, month wise, or day wise, yearly also we can do the allocation. So based on the business, each business to business varies.
Okay.
Yeah.
IBP is APO, right?
IBP is another tool. So as APO is also getting sunset by 2027 plus 3 years support. So in favor of IBP development, all the components of APO are getting, so few components like PPDS and all those things are getting migrated into S4 box, and other functionalities are getting migrated into IBP. So we can't say APO is a total replacement of IBP. So APO, few components are coming into S4 and some other components are going into IBP.
Okay.
So now let us see in the system the demo. So how this particular product allocation will be there and what are the configuration steps. Okay, first. Let it load. So meanwhile, I will show the configuration steps. So cross application components. So under the SPRO menu path, cross application components and advanced availability promise.
Rutvik, this is like, does this come directly with this S4HANA box? Is it like an add-on or to it?
No, it's inbuilt with S4HANA box on it. So no additional license is also required. So it comes directly with S4HANA license.
Okay.
So here product availability check. So define availability checking group. So here we can activate at individual level. So these are the availability checking groups are available. So at individual availability checking groups, either you want to activate AATP or you want to deactivate. So by default, it will be inactive. So if you want to activate at any specific availability checking group, so individual checking groups at business to business will be varying, right? So those will be coming over here. You can activate. So whether you want to activate or you don't want. So this is the first step in order to activate the AATP. So once this AATP component is activated, then we need to activate the individual components like backorder processing or product allocation. So all these activities, right?
And maybe for interest of everyone, can you just explain us what is backorder processing for dummies like?
Yeah, sure. So after this, can I explain or now only?
Sorry?
Can I explain once I complete this topic or should I continue?
No, I'll stop you now because let's just explain it as in like explaining it to a technical guy who doesn't understand anything.
Okay.
Because I know many of us are technical. I'm not saying nobody understands, but at least I don't understand this.
Yeah, sure.
So when you say backorder processing, it's very common, Anna. What is it actually?
Yes, sure. Let me... Let me take over here.
Yeah, once you explain it, then you can continue again the demo.
So basically backorder processing. So in short, we'll be calling it as BOP. So what happens backorder processing is, so by the name we can understand, okay, something it is backorder or somewhat we need once the once the order is created, whether we are going to do the back order or something like that. So so let's take, so customer A has given you an, so there is an FG. So there is an product is available. So let's take again an example of laptop. So there is an laptop where you will be manufacturing. Just a second. Just a minute. Okay. Am I there?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. So both, I think audio got disconnected. Okay, fine. So are you able to see my screen also, right?
Yeah, your presentation we can see.
Okay. So you are manufacturing laptops and you are having a stock of 100 pieces is only available. So you have manufactured laptops and 100 pieces stock is inventory is available. Now you need to sell that particular laptop. So customer A has given you an order for say 50 pieces, I want laptop, and customer B has given you 25 pieces of laptop. So now we have left out with 25 pieces inventory, right? So till here the system is fine. So 150 pieces, so customer has shown. So what happens, system will do once the sales order is created, first in first out. So first customer who has given you an order, so he will get the commitment. So 50 pieces requirement and 50 pieces is 100 is there at the moment. So okay, as per the customer requirement, you can deliver the goods. And customer B has shown up and 25 pieces, yeah, still stock is available, fine. So now the customer C has come into the picture and he has placed an order of 75 pieces. So 75 pieces he has given, and the customer C is very important customer for you. So he is doing a business with you from long time, and at any point of time you need to do the 100% commitment to this particular customer. So now we have left out with only 25 pieces, but remaining 50 is shortage. So now this back order processing comes into the picture, and it will help you to resolve this particular issue. So what happened? Each customer, so there are 5 strategy groups are there. So there are 5 strategy groups. So those 5 strategy groups are there. So based on win, gain, redistribute. So redistribute, fill, lose. So like this, we are having 5 strategies. So what happened at each strategy? So you will be segregating your customers. So and all your customers you will be segregating into this category. So now what happened? The system will see, okay, because I said customer C is very important. So like say we are having a membership, right? So golden membership, platinum membership. So what happened? So once the platinum member comes, so we will be giving main importance or priority to that particular customer. So in the same way, here also we can do. So at each customer we'll be segregating into these 5 categories. So what happened? So once these 5 categories we have segregated, once we run the back order processing, so what happened? This is a 100% win. So for example, let's say this C customer is falling under win. So now what happened? And customer A is falling, for example, he is falling under fill strategy. So he is, let's say in a layman language, let's say he's a silver customer and he is an platinum customer. So what happened? This back order processing will see, okay, if there is any orders coming from the win category and any orders are available, any orders or any customers who had got the commitment under fill or lose. So system will see, and those orders will be taken and it will be given to the system for the customer C. So in that way, in this way, this particular back order processing will work. So this back order processing is available in ECC functionality also, but during that time, a lot of manual and tedious job is there, and we need to go into individual order and we need to delete the schedule lines, and then again we have to do. But now SAP has provided the provision with back order processing. With a single click, the system will simulate and it will show you how many customers are getting lose and how many customers are going to win. So based on the simulation, we will it is not like that, okay, system will directly remove it and it will give to the customers for the platinum. So system will give you a simulation report. So based on the simulation report, we need to get a confirmation from, because end of the day, every customer is a customer. So we need to satisfy all the customers. So we will be getting a confirmation saying that, okay, a little bit of delay might happen. So we have promised to deliver on 5th of May, but due to some over capacity, we are able to deliver in 30th May. So is it okay? So if the customer is satisfied, we will proceed with the simulation. If the customer is not satisfied, the customer A is not satisfied and he want to be done on then, and again we need to little bit manipulate, and then again we need to change the strategies in this particular. So we need to change all the customers in those scenarios, and then we will run the simulation once again.
Perfect. Got it. Thank you. So maybe you can continue with the configuration.
Yeah. Fine. So now we have activated. So previously I have shown you how to activate advanced availability promise. So now in order to activate the product allocation, so simple. So come into the product allocation and then activate product allocation. So here by default it will be no. Sorry, by default it will be no. Now we will change into S. So then it will be getting activated. So both are TR generated. So once it is done, okay. So those are the two configuration steps in the SAP GUI. So apart from that, everything will be done in the Fury only. So all the innovations, so not only this, so not only product allocation, whatever innovations are happening or whatever the new functionalities are delivering by SAP at each release or each FPS release, all the functionalities will be working in the Fury. So if we talk about back order processing, that will be also working in Fury. If we talk about order release or release for delivery, all the functionalities will be working only in the Fury applications. So these are the 5 Fury apps which are required in order to do the product allocation functionalities. So first is configure product allocation, and then manage product allocation data planning. So here we will be giving, okay, at each month from what is the start line and what is the end line. So timelines, and at each timeline, what is the allocation you are going to do here, we'll be maintaining. And then we'll be assigning the sequence, and then we'll assign the product. So assigning the sequence and assigning the products. And finally, we can see the total overview. So we'll see one by one. So first, in the configure product allocation, so important aspects what we'll be giving. Okay, otherwise I'll create a new one. Okay. So important aspects what has to be given is, so major important aspect is unit of measurement. So this is the key factor. So most of the people will be saying, okay, we have created a product allocation and everything is fine and we have allocated and all the things are available, but my product allocation is not working. What is this issue? So this is the one. So unit of measurement. So you are creating a product allocation with 1 unit of measurement and the products are in a different unit of measurement, means it will not allocate. So the products and the product allocation product unit of measurement and the allocation unit of measurement should be matching. So this is the one of the major aspect. This will only change the entire functionality. So now let us create one of the allocation product allocation quantity. Let me keep PL. So I'm creating a PL underscore SAP. So description also again same. So what is the period type? So whether you're going with monthly or day wise, quarterly or weekly or yearly. So how you want to do. So I will be going with the month, and unit of measurement. Let me give. I want to go with pieces. And here you can see, so the purpose, whether, and one more thing, this can be used for even stock transport orders also, not only for sales orders, even for STO orders also we can do. So you can activate, so only for sales orders, or you want to do with stock transport orders also, and factory calendar. So what happens, individual factory will have a holiday list and all the things will be there, right? So if you assign that particular factory calendar, the system will see, okay, so saying that, okay, the schedule lines will be also suggested based on the holiday list. So if you are having any particular factory calendar, we can assign over here. So these are the generic information. And now coming to the characteristics. So based on what characteristic you want to allocate. So here you can see we are having different characteristics are available. So based on individual characteristics, like say based on business partner, or based on the distribution channel or division, or based on the sales org. So at what aspect you want to do the characteristics, means based on these characteristics, you are going to do the allocation like that. So if you take, for example, business partner. So I want to go with BP. And under BP, whether you want to do with the ship to party or sold to party. So let's go with the sold to party and customer number. So this is one characteristic. And then I will go with the sales org characteristic. So these two characteristics, or even company code. So these two characteristics I want to do. Done. So I have created a basic information. So that is what is the unit of measurement and what is the planning allocation timeline parameters, and what are the characteristics. So once that is done, then we will be going into the next step. So this has been created. So now we'll be going to the next step, that is manage product allocation planning data. So previously we have created an allocation Now we will give the timelines and we will be assigning the options. So here you can see the selection range. So by default, it will be taking 9 months. So by default, it will be taking 9 months. If you want more than 9 months, if you want less also, we can change the date range over here. So from current date to 9 months it is taking. And here, as I said, no, so we have created two characteristics. So based on sold to party and sales org, right? So once we click on add, so we'll be getting. So what is the sold to party you want to go and what is the sales org? And it each month wise. So we have given month, right? So at each month wise, what is the planning you want to do? So let me give sold to party 17100. For example, let's take Atos Incorporation or HP Incorporation. And for sales org 1710, right? So here you can see, so each month. So in the month of May, I want to do 10 pieces. In the month of July, I want to do 100 pieces. Again here 40. Here I want to do, let's say example, again 100. So these are the data I want to do, right? And then once I click on save, so based on this characteristics, under this particular sales org and then for this particular customer, this is the allocation we have done. And in the next step, we will be assigning the product. So for each one, how much will be the product? And at any point of time, for example, already you have created one of the aspect and you want to see what is the consumption still, how much is available. So what happens? So once you click on show consumption, so here we can see.
Rutvik, just to interrupt you, you have 5 to 7 minutes more. So just a heads up.
Okay, fine. Complete. So now here we can see, so how much is the planned quantity and how much is the available quantity and how much is the consumption quantity. Here we can see the graph, right? So in this way, so still we are in the created only. So we have not done anything done. Okay. So now, so in the manage product allocation sequence, so we will be, so let me show already created one. Yeah. So here we will be again, so here we will be assigning what the sequence allocation sequence we have done. No? So for month, sorry, customer and sales org level, we have assigned the characteristics. No? So that we will assign over here. And then we will be keeping. So how much, so past allowed is accepted or not. So I said no, so based on backward and forward. So backward 2 months it can go and forward 2 months it can go. So that is the thing. So once we have assigned these aspects, and in the last and final one is assign product allocation. Assign a product for the allocation. So previously we have created the allocation. Now we will assign the product. So these are the products and what is the start date and end date. So these two materials and for that customer and the sales org we have created. So now if we create any sales order for this particular materials, then system will allocate based on the requirement. So for that, let me create one sales order and show you. One 7 So customer date 15th. TG 12 40. So it is going to the availability check. So what happened in the current month, it is allowing you to do 10. And in month end, it is allowing you to do, because we have said allow 2 months forward. So it is allowing you to do the delivery remaining 20 pieces in the month of month end, May month end. And another 10 pieces it is allowing you to do in the month of June month end. So if you are okay with these aspects, once you click on apply, it will be done. So if I save it, so now what happened, I have done with 40 pieces in the month. So now once I saved it, so you want to see what is the allocation and all, or you want to see, okay, as per monitoring you want to do. So you have allocated, and as per the allocation, how many orders are getting confirmed and how many orders are getting delayed, and all you want to see means this is then final app where you can see all the aspects, right? See, partial. So one is partially confirmed because the timelines and all the things has been changed, right? The customer has requested you 40 pieces, but you are not able to deliver 40 pieces on the time. So partial deliveries are happening. So one is partially happening, and out of your allocation, 90% is used. And what is the thing? See, so 100% is used in the month of in this particular period, and 100% is also used in this particular period. You can see in that. So just with this final step, I will conclude. So here, this is the one which you have created, right? See, at each month, this is the quantity I have given. So in the first, from planning May 1st to June 1st, 10 pieces out of 10, you have consumed 10. And second, 20 pieces, that also you have consumed. And in July to August, 15 pieces. Out of that, 10 pieces has been allocated and available is this much. So in this way, you can see the product allocation activities and all. So if I want to show you over here, let's do this one. Yeah. So here I will show you the consumption so that it will be clear. See, so this is the planned quantity what I have given. So 10 pieces, 20 pieces, 15, and 30 pieces, 40 pieces. So what say order we have created with 40. So it has to forwarded 2 months. So current plus 2. So that's the reason it has consumed the July month and June month and June month with 5 pieces is left out in the month of July. So this is the functionality of product allocation. So there are useful links are also available. So blogs has been written and also in the YouTube, and also you want to understand more about back order processing and all, we are having YouTube videos, and also blogs are also available, right? So any questions?
I think, Rutvik, for me, I had only about back order, which you explained in a very nice way. I think overall, for me, this whole thing makes sense. So thank you. Anyone has any queries, feel free to ask. Okay.
Just one question. This advanced ATP functionality is only available in S4HANA? It is not there in non-S4?
No, it is available only in S4HANA from 1709 version onwards.
Okay, 1709 onwards. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Thank you.
Okay, then.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for your valuable time and support. So you can, if you are having any further questions, you can reach out to me via LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube channel. So thank you everyone. So over to you, Nabith.
So maybe next, Gaurav. Over to you, man. Mute. You're on mute, Gaurav. No, it's okay.
Thank you very much, Ritvik. Thank you, Nabith. Okay, guys. So let me just share my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. So topic for today is like S/4HANA output management. So this topic has been doing the round for a while now. This new output management service was introduced in S/4HANA Cloud, or which is also called S/4HANA Essentials Edition, and further it was pushed to the on-premise version. Many of you have already worked on, or we already have exposure to S/4HANA output management, how it works. Okay, probably ECC customers are not able to use it. But I think for the S4HANA ones, I think it's a kind of push sometime from the customer that they just want to use the new service. Okay, so today we are going to talk about primarily about the S4HANA output management FAQs, you can say, its significance, what are the things to be considered when customers take a decision that whether they want to go for the S4HANA output management or traditional frameworks, okay, or is there any usefulness about it, and what are the steps that we need to do for the development, though it's again Adobe Forms, but a different type of Adobe Forms. There's a bit of difference than a traditional working of Adobe Forms from SFP. Okay, uh, I think I won't be going too much into the development. Like I won't show you like step by step how you edit the fields and all, but I will tell you the development steps. And idea here is to discuss about the overall concept. And if there are any questions, we can discuss that. And I would really encourage the support, or you can say discussion here. Okay, if we can do that, because there's a lot of confusion about this topic many times. Okay, I'm also learning. I happen to work on this topic when I was working on S4HANA Cloud. Okay, so I have some exposure to this. There are some guys who have worked a lot on this topic, so it's great if we can have a discussion around it. You can share your experience as well. That'd be great. Okay, let me just go to the next screen. So now it's about the agenda. So what is the agenda for this session? We will discuss about the output management. Obviously, we will discuss what this output management is for, and uh, uh, what exactly it is, what features it is providing, and why one should use the S4HANA output management. Then we will go into the development, the steps that we take to do the development for the S4HANA output management forms. Okay, and then we go to the comparison of S4HANA output control versus traditional frameworks. So here we will just see that how these two concepts, or you can say two frameworks, are different, and what are the things that S4HANA customers should consider when they are actually deciding about which framework to use. And obviously these frameworks have their limitations as well. Okay, so those are the limitations also which I would like to discuss, so that we are fully aware when we are making the decision about it. Okay, so first topic is for S4HANA output management. Okay, so for this, let me first describe what output management is. So when we say output, okay, just before I start explaining these things, last month when I declared that I am going to give session on this topic, there was a very good blog post by Marcus Berg specifically on this topic. I think that was really useful, and it really came on time. Very fortunate for me. So a lot of information that you will see here, it will be common with that blog post as well. It's a very detailed blog post, and we can discuss around it if you have any doubts. And Marcus Berg is the product owner of this service in SAP. So whatever he says, he's saying it correctly. Okay, so I will share the link for his blog post as well. So post this session, please go through his blog post. It's a really good one. Okay, so when we talk about output, primarily it's printing email or forms, output forms. Okay, sometimes we send the business documents to other vendors and all. So those are like output forms. Sometimes they are interactive forms as well, and emails also we send. So all those things happen, which we say output. There is a fax functionality as well. Okay, so these are like called outputs, like printing, email, form. Okay, but there's something called output management. Output management means how do you manage these outputs? Okay, there are different parameters. There are different different conditions. Condition records is something that we have used in a traditional framework to identify, or in our S/4HANA output management, we use a application called output parameter determination to set the different rules, business rules. Okay, so these are management, or you can say determination of the correct output based on different business rules is how you manage these different outputs being triggered from an application, and that's called output management. Okay, now since uh, having all this framework to determine the correct output based on very many different parameters, many different factors, it is not a very simple task, right? It's a complex task. So we have a lot of applications in SAP, okay, like for sales order, purchase order, and all. Okay, so either these applications can implement their own functionalities for the output management, or they can use some reuse service. Okay, so good approach here would be to use something which is existing, which is specifically for this purpose, output management purpose, and which provides us a kind of uniform way of working. Okay, so that reuse service is called output control. Okay, so output control, what we are doing here, uh, this is a service which is being used by your sales order application, or you can say your purchase order application. Being used means they are calling its classes. Okay, they're calling its methods, classes methods, to actually get the output, and get the different uh, get the output of different parameters that have been set in the configuration. Okay, so you have the user interface, configuration, and processing of those complex parameter settings, and these are things which are being reused for the different applications as well. Okay, so that is something which is being implemented by own applications. Okay, so that's a difference between these two. If you happen to talk about these two things, what is output management and output control? Okay, so output management is actually making use of output control service. Okay, and different applications can have different kind of implementations of the output control. Some applications may want to use certain number of functions, but some application may want to use some other set of functions. So that's completely dependent on the application. But underlying reuse service remains same. That is called output control. Okay, so now when it comes to S/4HANA output management, yeah, okay, so we have this new output control service now. Earlier we had one for our NAST configurations, or FI correspondence configurations, or our EWM, I think PPF framework configurations. Okay, those are the, like, different output control services for there. But now there's one uniform S/4HANA output management service which is being used by different applications. Now, what is S/4HANA output management? Okay, as I told, one for all. Okay, it's a unified solution for all output related tasks across the product. So the point I would like to stress upon here is that right now we have different frameworks for different applications. Like for SDMM, PP, we actually use NAST framework, right? But if you happen to work on the EWM forms, there's a PPF framework. And but if you are working on the check form and all, like finance form, then you have FI correspondence framework. Okay, so right now there are different user experience, different ways of working for the output data tasks for different modules. So that is something which has been put at now you can say put it as one. Now it's one for all. So if S/4HANA output management service is used, it can be used for all the application. Then it's one unified solution. That means you have one user interface, one way of doing things for all the applications across the product. Okay. Now again, I need to highlight the fact here is that that particular application should actually implement or should actually use this S/4HANA output control service. Okay, if it is using the old one, that's fine, that's working. But for it to have the unified solution, like for SD and MM, they should implement the new service. Okay, and how is it decided, or you can say how is the roadmap for this? Like if you happen to work on the S/4HANA, you can see that SD, MM, finance, okay, all these modules have implemented S/4HANA output management, right? But if there are some other uh, application like for EWM application, right? Those applications haven't yet made use of this service. The roadmap for it is that whatever is there in the S/4HANA Cloud solution, S/4HANA Essentials Edition, those applications have to use S/4HANA Output Management only. There's no other alternative for them. Okay. So if there is something if there is one application, one module which is released in S/4HANA Cloud, okay, and or which is in the roadmap for S/4HANA Cloud, you can be sure of that ultimately with some time the application even for the on-premise will provide the flexibility to use S/4HANA output management even on the on-premise. So first it comes on cloud, then it's pushed to the on-premise. Okay, since for the cloud there's no other alternative, once it's implemented in cloud, it will come to the on-premise as well. Another very important factor is the extensibility. If you have used the in-app extensibility or key user extensibility to extend your field or to put the new fields or implemented the cloud baddies using the custom fields and logic application. Okay, if you see that if you while creating the new fields, you actually have the option to extend the field to forms and as well. So once you create a new field, you can actually extend it to form, and that particular field will be available in the data source of that form. Okay, so this new framework fully supports extensibility. Okay, that's kind of modification free in a modification free implementation, and really easy one. Okay, and this is something which anyone can do. It's not something which is very technical. Then it's just the configuration part and activate it. Okay. So from that perspective, I think it's a big positive here using the extensibility part, which can be used to actually impact your forms data source as well. Now it runs on both on cloud and premise versions. Okay, as I told you, it is first released on the S/4HANA Cloud version, then it's pushed to on-premise version. Okay, and it's ready to use. Yeah, there are pre-configured configurations for common scenarios, or in fact you can say for common scenarios, but for all the applications. Okay, I know that we have ready to use forms in on-premise as well, but we all have seen that what is the quality of those forms there, right? It just has a standard form, just have the bare minimum information there. I have never seen any customer using those standard provided forms in on-premise, but on cloud, if you look at the pre-delivered forms, they are actually very nice. They actually contain a lot of information. Okay, most of the information that customers need on their purchase order, sales orders it is already there in the form. Sometimes customer just need that this field should come here or there, or this field should be hidden, something like those requests come, but those are like some minor changes that you have to do. It's not like that you are building a whole form again. Okay, I have worked on the forms in S/4HANA Cloud, and the final forms are really not too much different from the pre-delivered forms. Okay. Business user enablement, yeah, like for our traditional frameworks like for NAST and all, okay, uh, they are, I mean, if someone has to do the configuration, they actually need to know that framework, know those transactions very well. Right? We in NAST we create those condition records and all, right? That it's not something very intuitive. Okay, it's not like some new person goes in that transaction and really understands that what is happening, that what you need to do. So those are not really business user friendly transactions, or you can say user interfaces. But here for S/4HANA output management, all the configurations and even the form template development or form template configuration, they are very much business user friendly, really intuitive, and very easy to understand, since all is happening in the Fury screens as well. So that is also one big factor there to increase the yeah, yeah, adaptability of Fury apps to the customers. And then we have the central monitoring tools for key users also. So for key users, something which is really for key users is that if we have the Fury application for that, okay. So for this, to see the output items, okay, there are application like manage output item, okay, even for the logo and footer and text, reuse text, you really now have the applications which where you can create all those things, and you can just directly do the configuration without downloading the forms and all, without changing your standard form. And those static things like logo, footer and all, they actually appear on your forms. Okay, so from that perspective, from business user perspective, it's really easy, and it really provides a lot of monitoring tools as well. Okay, like if you need to check your print queue and all, it's very easy to monitor those things. Now, why should customers use S/4HANA output management? Okay, as we discussed, cloud support. Okay, for this one, you can actually do everything from the Fury application. You really don't need to go to the SAP GUI. Okay. Yeah, so output manager, since it's also available on the on-premise, okay, so it has integration to SAP GUI. Okay, I mean, if your application is configured using S/4HANA output management, yeah, you can trigger it through SAP GUI, but it has a native integration to Fury applications as well. Okay, so from the application building team perspective, it is very easy to integrate it there. Not really probably for the consultants like us. We want to be doing the standard application integration with S/4HANA output management. Okay, but sometimes if we build the uh, custom custom application and all, and if we want to reuse the S/4HANA output control, yeah, it's very easy to integrate it there. Yeah, this is one very big factor, or you can say one big benefit that we have it here, use separation of static layout and content. Okay, we will discuss it in detail going further. So static layout, it means your logo, headers and footers. Okay, you can actually create them once, okay, and then you can just do the configuration and they appear on all your forms. And if you need to change your logo or your footer text and all, you just change it once and it appears everywhere. Yeah. But in earlier times or in a traditional framework, we have all embedded in form. Let's say one company has 25 forms and they need to change their company name or jump footer text or logo, they will actually have to change all the 24, all the 25 forms. So that is not the case here. Standard extensibility support, this is something we have discussed, big factor. Okay, so that business users can directly do the configuration themselves. And pre-delivered content, I have already discussed the significance of it and how good it is. Any questions so far? Okay, so
No, not as of now.
okay, so I assume it's going fine then. Okay,
Hi,
so
Gaurav.
yeah,
Shrikant here.
yeah.
I'm sorry I joined a bit late. However, I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So you did say that it's about static forms, right? Um, how do how do you deal with clients who have dozens or let's say hundreds of custom form layouts in the current ECC, and they migrate into S4 HANA? So none of these will be applicable, right?
No, I said this is for the output forms. Static content I talked. Static content and dynamic content is like static content is your logo, footer, and header. Dynamic content is your body of form.
Mhm.
Okay, so body of form is your dynamic content. So that is something which is separated here. That's what I have told. Okay, now if you're asking about the strategy of what customers should do if they have hundreds of forms in their existing landscape and they are moving to S4 HANA, right?
Yeah.
I have that topic covered during the
Okay.
during I think in the next section. Okay, so I will just discuss that in detail, and after that, if you have any questions, we can discuss.
Sure. Okay. So the static forms are only for the new ones, right? Or is it anything, or the standard forms that you already have in ECC are the static forms here in
No,
S4?
static
Is it
forms,
different?
nothing. So what do you mean by static forms?
No, you were mentioning. I joined a little bit late.
So
Like,
I mentioned static layout, static
okay.
content.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
got it.
forms we have two types, like output forms, or you can say print forms, and then the interactive forms.
Right.
Okay, print forms are like your forms where you get the printer, you don't really interact with something, right? And then
Okay.
you have your interactive forms. Okay, now that those are two types of forms, and
Correct.
static content could be there. Static or dynamic content, that is something different. So
Understood.
static content is something which doesn't change for different forms. Like for purchase order or sales order, they both can have the same logo and same header, right? But their content will be different, right?
Got it. I understood.
Okay.
Thanks, Gaurav.
Yeah. Now coming to the development. Okay. Now two questions which are floated around lot around even in my organization, that can I only use Adobe Forms in S4 HANA? People are saying that in S4 HANA you cannot use smart forms and all. Okay, I would like to discuss about it. And then can I still use existing smart forms when moving to S4 HANA? Okay, so I would like to answer these questions. Okay, now I will just describe 4 or 5 features here. Okay, based on that, I think those questions will be answered. Okay, so it depends on what edition of S4 HANA are you using. Okay, if you are using S4 HANA Cloud, okay, you cannot use smart forms there. Okay, it is only Adobe Forms. Okay, because it is S4 HANA output management it's using, and you can use only the fragment based forms which has a gateway service as a data source. Okay, that is for the S4 HANA Cloud. But if you are on S4 HANA, which is S4 HANA PCE, okay, private cloud edition, okay, or you can say S4 HANA Cloud single tenant and all, where you actually have access to your GUI. Okay, for all those additions, you actually have everything available which was there in the ECC as well. Okay, so if you still want to use your FI correspondence framework, okay, which was used for the finance documents or to configure the check form, you can still use that. If you want, you can still create the smart form and use it there. Okay, though I have always created the Adobe form there even in the ECC days, but if you if your team doesn't have the skill for the Adobe form and they want to do only a smart form, that is very much possible. Okay, so no issue there. Okay, so Adobe forms you can use in both the editions and you can use the other things as well. Now it now your S/4HANA edition defines this. Yeah. Now again, as I had told in the first slide, right? It depends on. It also depends on how that particular application is implementing and the output control service. To give you one example for sales order application, right? Okay, it was using the NAST-based framework earlier. Okay, and it is also using the S/4HANA output management framework. Okay, so to print the sales order, you can either use the new framework and print this sales order using the fragment based forms. Okay, or if customer doesn't want to go that way, that NAST based framework is still very much available. And if you use a NAST based framework, you have the flexibility to use smart form or Adobe forms. Okay, so your application actually defines, okay, that which form technologies can be used. Now for some applications, okay, there is only S/4HANA output management solution. NAST based or traditional framework is not there. So for such things, you only have to use fragment based forms. So you can only use the Adobe form. You cannot use the smart forms. So this is how it works. Okay, so there is no black and white answer there. You actually have to look at the application for which you are creating the form and see what all things that particular application is supporting. Yeah, so this is something I've already discussed, that your individual business applications implementation decides what are your output options. Yeah, same thing. So individual business application has lot of lot of say there, whether you can use Adobe Form, Smart Form, Script or what. Okay. So this is something which I picked from the blog, and I think it was very good good figure to show here. Okay, so for the further S/4HANA S/4HANA editions, like S/4HANA Private Cloud Edition, okay, private cloud editions, you actually have access to your GUI and your S/4HANA solution, which is your on-premise solution as well. Okay, so you have all your applications there, sales, invoice, delivery, dunning, and all. Okay, and you have the availability of all that additional frameworks like NAST, PPF, and all, and S/4HANA output control also. So all these frameworks, all these output options are there. Now, based on your application, using which you are going to print, it depends which framework it is using. Okay, if it is NAST based, PPF or print workbench, you can actually use the SAP script and smart forms and all. Okay, but if it is S/4HANA output control and it is on the on-premise, S/4HANA output control also has an inbuilt support for NAST and all. You can actually use the DDIS interfaces forms as well there if you are on the on-premise version. Okay, and it also depends on the application how it is implementing, and then you may have to only use the output forms which are based on the gateway interface. Okay. Now coming to your S/4HANA cloud solution. Okay, here also you have all the application, all the business application, but only output solution here is S/4HANA Output Control. Okay, and if you are using it here, S/4HANA Output Control only supports gateway-based forms, where your data source is a gateway service. Okay, and you can only print the output forms. There are no interactive forms you can do here. Okay, these are Fury enabled, something we've discussed, and data source is gateway service. Okay, and while doing the development, okay, you really don't need the backend access. You really don't need you don't do the development for segment based forms or gateway based forms using SFP transaction. You have your ADLC local installation. You open it that, and then you use some layout files and do the development there, and then you upload it. I will discuss this in further slides. Okay, then you have the master layout and content layout. This is something we have already discussed. Master layout could be your logo, your some corporate branding, or anything which is static, which is not going to change with time for all the forms. Like if you are printing the purchase order for purchase order number 10 and purchase order number 20, there is some information which remains same. So that comes in your master layout. Okay, if there's something which changes based on the purchase order number, okay, then that is your dynamic information. Okay, so that goes in your content layout, body of the layout. So here, while doing the development for the S/4HANA output management gateway based forms, we actually have two different layouts for master and content. Okay, so that's where it is separation of concerns. And to do the development, what are the steps we take here? Okay, there are a lot of demos available over the internet, and there are many blog posts as well that how actually you do the development, right? So I really don't want to go that much into the development. Okay, so that is something you can actually learn over the internet. So I will just quickly go through the steps that you need to do. Okay, development is only one part, then, but there's a lot of configuration needs to be done as well. So first and foremost step is your application maintain form templates. Okay, when you go to the form templates, you actually find your form, your standard form. Okay, and you download it. Okay, so when you download it, you get three types of three files there: XDP file, XSD file, and master layout file. Master layout file is also XDP file. So XDP file is your actually layout file. Okay, and XSD is your I think data, I think schema, or this is something which you use for the binding, right? What all fields are available from the back end. Okay, so when you actually do the development in your local installation of ADLC, you actually upload the XDP file there. When you upload the XDP file, it actually open the layouts. Then you actually embed the XSD file, and XSD file will show the different fields which are available for binding. Okay. Yeah, so these are the local level changes. You do it in the local installation, and once you change this XDP and XSD, you actually create a new form in maintain form templates. It will be your Z form or Y form, custom form, and you can upload your changed XDP, SSD, and master XDP and XSD files there. This is your content form that you are changing. Okay, and similarly, if you want to change the master layout, for that also master layout has its own XDP. So you can create a master form template as well, and you upload the XDP there. Okay, so these are your custom form templates that you have created. Next part is your form configuration. For this, there is a application called output parameter determination. Okay, so this is where you do all the configuration, you define all the business rules, uh, parameters, conditions, based on which you want you want application to determine the form. Okay, like language is one. Okay, or you can say based on the purchasing organization, or you can say billing type. Okay, so all those things, all those business rules that you have to do, something we do in the condition records in NAST. Okay, that is something that you will do in OPD, output parameter determination application. Okay, so this is where you configure it for printing email as well, and this is where you assign your custom form templates or email templates also. So this is one application which you will visit again and again. Okay, and then you have the output configuration. I think this I have discussed, and this also I've discussed, and yeah, this is output configuration. This is configuration that you do in your configure your solution. I think earlier it was called manage your solution application. It is like a SPRO. SPRO we have in on premise, like, so in your Asprana Cloud, you don't have any SPRO. You actually have an application called configure your solution. So if you go there, you search for a node, assign form templates. So against the output type and all, you assign your new custom template there. Okay, and then finally you do the master form configuration as well. So master form which you have created, like you don't need to create the master form for each form. You create it once. Okay, but you need to assign it to different content forms. Okay, so you can define the different business rules for the determination of master form as well. Like for the same uh, or for purchase order, if I say you want to display in the master form static content different information, like a different address for vendor 1, for vendor 2 you want to display the different address. Okay, so for that you will actually create two master forms. Okay, and you actually while doing the configuration, you actually put that for vendor 1 this, vendor 2 this. So that's the configuration that you do. Okay, so this is, so step 2 was output parameter determination, where you actually determine your content form, and this configuration is where you put the rules for determination of your master form. Yeah, questions this till this point?
Hi Gaurav, this is Prabjot. I do have one question related to comparison between this NAST configuration and S4 OPD. So if we see in NAST, SAP gave a lot of flexibility, like when we don't want to use the standard condition record or access sequence, you can say. So we can also create some custom access sequence, and we can actually design our own condition records based on different columns. So whether this OPD or this in this BRF plus, is it flexible enough, or can we extend some columns or some custom fields for which we want to configure the rules? I mean, have you gone through any kind of scenarios like this?
Yeah, Prabhupada, it's actually more flexible. Okay, probably it is not that much direct to the eye. If you open it that way, you just see one list of some fields, right? Like when you are, if you've done the configuration,
Yep.
and you download the Excel, you see that you can actually you can set the rules for the form template determination based on some particular fields. Okay, those are the default fields which are available, but there's one option there you will see on the left side called table settings. Okay, so if you go there, you actually see your all application data. Okay, all application fields, so you can actually extend it a lot. That particular Excel file where you see some fields, you can actually uh, put all the fields from your application there, and put the rules accordingly. So in my experience, it's more flexible as compared to NAST, but just you need to do that setting. Go to table settings, choose your fields, and accordingly it will give you the option to put the rules.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Guru.
Thank you. So now I'm just coming to the next point. Okay, so next screen is where I will answer the earlier question also. So I will just compare the scope here for the Esperon output management and then the traditional frameworks. Okay, so Esperon output management, it's for the printing. It's only for print forms. Okay, but in traditional framework, you can actually use the interactive forms as well. As for an output management, email functionality is there with both, but in here you actually have the more flexibility. Okay, you can actually configure the different email templates on based on different vendors and all, just for the configuration based. But there, I think we have to do do bit of code. Yeah, this is one very important thing to understand. I have a blog post on this topic as well. Okay, in the traditional framework for the EDI and IDOC, okay, they actually use the ALE. ALE is used to identify, determine the business partners based on different rules, right? We create those logical system, and then different based on that we put some rules in the ALE, determine the business partner. Okay, so that can be used for your data integration perspective, data replication perspective. But for here, as per an output management, it is bit restrictive from that perspective. You can actually send it to you can actually send the EDI to some business receivers from the transactional applications. Okay, for this you have to create that communication arrangement and all, right? And then you have to do some configuration in the OPD. Okay, and your transaction application should also support this. Okay, and it actually goes to particular business receivers. Okay, it is not like ALE where you are sending it from application, then you do some configuration, and based on configuration you can send it to multiple business receivers based on rules. That is something which is not happening here. Okay, so traditional framework is more flexible for this functionality, EDI IDOC. But we have lot more things in the traditional frameworks, which are these. Special function is something which I have used a lot while doing the development. Okay, it gives us a lot of flexibility. Okay, to put your additional rules if you want to do. Okay, the workflow, and then if you need to do some data integration, which can be done using the EDI and IDOC. So all those things are available in traditional, but they are not available in S/4HANA output management. Okay, so if you're working for your on-premise customers, okay, they usually have some particular requirements. Okay, and those requirements we have been able to cater to using special functions mostly. Okay, we do write a lot of code in special functions sometimes. Okay, and that is something if you don't have option of if you're using S/4HANA output management. Okay, and the last point is also very important, is for the check print. I have worked on some requirements. Okay, where during the check print there was a requirement that like in the check in when you are doing the check form, if you worked on it, on the first page it will print the check. Okay, and then the next 4 or 5 pages will have the information about the transactions, or you can say account receivable. No, okay. uh, so since the first page it will have the pre-printed check most of the time, and they have their own stationery. Okay, first page is what it should be picked from tray 1, but the other pages are like your normal A4 pages, they should be picked from tray 2. Okay, so one print you give, but different pages are being picked from different trays in your printer. So this is something we can easily achieve if you're using the traditional framework. Okay, but you cannot do that in S/4HANA output management. Okay, so this is also very important functionality which is available in traditional frameworks. Now, I think this is one question which has been asked, that what should happen if there are already existing row forms and row forms or SAP scripts and smart forms for existing customers. Okay, they can continue using it. There's no issue with that. Okay, and also if you want to move to the S/4HANA output management, they need to see that what all functionalities are being used by them earlier in their forms, and if all those functionalities will be available in S/4HANA output management as well. Like special functions is one thing. If it is used extensively there, it won't be available in S/4HANA output management. Yeah, so it is not mandatory for customers to switch to S/4HANA output control. Okay, this is one I would say that doubt usually people have, that if they're going to S/4HANA, they have to use S/4HANA output control, output management. No, it is not mandatory. SAP hasn't made it mandatory anywhere. Okay, and in S/4HANA, default is still your existing output solution. If you need to do the SAP S/4HANA output management, need to use it there, you actually have to implement some nodes and do some settings for that. But your existing output solutions at traditional frameworks, they are available out of the box. Yeah, this is something we have discussed. It only has the output only functionality. All those special functions, EDI and IDOC, they are not flexible there. You really cannot use it for a lot of things. Switching business applications from specialized or generic frameworks to S/4HANA output control might lead to loss of functionality. Okay, we have discussed this, that what functionalities are missing in S/4HANA output management. So if you are an existing customer using hundreds of forms, and you are in your decision phase of moving to S/4HANA output management, be known that there will be loss of functionality. Okay, be known of the risks. Though S/4HANA output management has its own advantages, own benefits, lot of benefits, I would say. Okay, but it has its limitations as well. So the right way for it could be, customer can use, they can test out the S/4HANA output control for existing applications. Okay, but there should not be a organization-wide decision that we are moving all our 150 forms to S/4HANA output management, and we are not going to use any other framework, and this is something we have to do by hook or crook. No, that's not the right way to do it. That's what I would say. Okay, we need to look into the customer requirements and see that which frameworks are good for us right now. And these are, even our traditional frameworks are not going anywhere. Okay, yeah, so this is very important thing, like for new applications or new modules. Like if there are comparatively new modules that are being introduced by SAP, okay, so SAP will be using S/4HANA output management there. So NAST and all, they are very good, but they won't have new innovations. Okay, they won't be enhanced over time. Okay, they will work, they are not going away, but don't expect a lot of new things coming on those frameworks. But S/4HANA output management will have new things coming its way. Okay, so if customer is going to work with a lot of new things, so it makes sense to start using the S/4HANA output management, because this is what that will be available for all the new applications. Yeah, so if customer has the roadmap to go to S/4HANA Cloud Essentials versions in future, okay, then S/4HANA output management is a right way to go. There are some customers who who are not implementing S/4HANA Cloud right now, because probably 1 or 2 modules are missing, but those 1 or 2 modules are in the roadmap. Okay, so those customers are doing it on the on-premise right now. They have the GUI access, but as soon as those modules are available, they will move to S/4HANA Cloud version subscription basis. Okay, so if that is the roadmap for customer, then S/4HANA Output Management is the right framework to use. Yeah, so this is also one important point. For some modules, okay, which are not there on the S/4HANA Cloud yet or on its roadmap, the existing traditional framework will still be there. Okay, it won't come on its application won't come on the S/4HANA Output Management anytime sooner. Okay, so if you are going to use the S/4HANA Output Management, so there will be 2 or 3 different frameworks for the output related tasks to be managed if that's going to happen. So that is something also which should be known while making that decision. Okay. Yeah, as mentioned, there are no plans to deprecate existing functionality, existing frameworks. Yeah, so there are no mandatory actions from on-premise customers. SAP hasn't mentioned that anywhere. Okay, so entire old scope of traditional options are still available. And I have overshot some time, but you guys held through. Thank you very much. Okay, and these are some references. Okay, I have mentioned it there, and just go through them because I will be sharing the slides. Now I am open for questions.
Hi Gaurav, Shrikant again.
Hi, Shrikant.
Right, I did have a few questions. I'm not sure if you have dealt with label printing. I know you spoke about check printing, for which is available in NAST but not in S/4HANA Output Management. How do you deal with the label management inside S/4HANA Output Management? Do we have it?
Label printing. If I remember, I worked on it once or twice, and for that we actually created the custom report. Using that, we used to print the different sizes of labels. Okay, and then we have obviously other custom Modo format. Using that, we were printing that. Okay,
correct.
We didn't use the standard framework to do the label printing. So I think the same approach can still be used for the on-premise customers. Okay, but using the S/4HANA Output Management, usually S/4HANA Output Management is for the applications. If you want, you can actually use this. Okay, but for that you have to implement the S/4HANA Output Control thing. So there are some already reports which are doing the printing. Like if you search in the system, there's a report called Epoch Render Document, which can give lot of insights about how you can use the output control service. But I would say if you are the on-premise customers, probably go by the traditional way. That would be the easier thing to do.
Okay. And in S4, is there a standard like everything should be Adobe Forms or Smart Forms alone? Why I'm saying this is we do have a mix of script, Smart Forms, and Adobe Forms, but we don't have any interactive forms. Everything is static, or I would say just print only.
Yeah, so if it is already existing, as I mentioned, and you are a on-premise customer, you have the GUI access or private cloud edition, I think it is perfectly fine. You can continue using that. So it is not going away anywhere. Okay, but if you want to move to the S/4HANA Output Management new framework, and you really want to transform all your forms, then Adobe Forms is the only option. But if you want to continue using the old frameworks, then there's no problem. Continue using Smart Forms and scripts.
So if we are sticking to old framework, can we still build new Smart Forms for it?
Yes, you can do. Yeah,
that we can still do.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Hi Gaurav. Prabjot this side. So in old framework, we also have a flexibility to archive or configuration of the archiving. Like if we want to use the archive link interface for different outputs, we can use that. But in S4 HANA output control, SAP haven't provided any option where we can actually link some existing archive link interface. So how can we deal with these kind of scenarios?
Archiving is it's not possible in astronaut management project. It's again one of the limitations. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I also didn't find anything related to that. Just SAP released one OSS note and they suggested to enhance something on their own risk. I mean, on customers' risk. But SAP didn't provide anything on that.
Yeah. So yeah. Please carry on.
Yeah, I'm saying like, for example, we didn't discuss about a lot of technical steps or configuration steps, but major step while activating S4 HANA output control is to configure the content repository which SAP has provided as a SOAM repository. And similarly, in old systems, whenever we want to activate archive link, we could activate or link the different external content repository. So is there any way like maybe SAP already providing all the data as a binary format in their different monitoring table like epoch tables? So might be that's the reason like SAP didn't thought of or didn't have any roadmap to add on this archiving thing, or we have to deal within SAP only.
Okay. Now the your first question, where in the note they have asked you to do some changes at your own risk. Okay. So those changes are actually in your as I mentioned that output control service is what it's your classes method, right?
Yeah.
It's ultimately your BAP code, right? So you can actually change that as well to enable it to support your archiving and all. But again you have to see what changes you are making and it's your own risk as well, rightly mentioned, right? Okay. So that's one thing, and the other thing is that regarding archiving, I can say one thing, like as a content repository, okay, for S4 HANA cloud and all, even for the on-premise version, okay, probably we can configure the DMS, document management solution, that we have on the SAP cloud platform, BTP. Okay, I think that can be configured where forms which are being printed from the on-premise version can be settled there. I mean, I'm just thinking aloud. I haven't used it, to be honest. Okay, but if I remember it correctly, I had read it somewhere as a solution that all your documents from your on-premise or S/4 HANA cloud, they can actually set in your DMS system on BTP. But for that, you have to obviously do the integration and do the other stuff. Yeah, but as far as also I know that as for output management, out of the box, this archive link functionality which you have earlier asked is not available.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Prabhat.
Gaurav, I've got one more question. So, sorry if it's a dumb one, but can we have both output management as well as the traditional approach running in parallel, or is it?
Yes, you can have both.
Okay.
You can have both. Only thing is that then you have to maintain one more extra framework, right?
Correct, but output management does not support everything right now, right?
Yeah.
The special cases as well as the EDI. Sorry, EDI is supported. You did mention that, right?
EDI is supported, but it directly goes to business receivers. Okay, it is not using the ALE. ALE is used to determine, business part. You put some rules there and all, right?
Distribution model.
Yeah. So distribution model thing is not available, but direct sending it to business receivers, yeah, you can do that.
Okay. Right. But if we want to do it, then we have to stick to the old one.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Sure. Thanks.
Hi Gaurav, Rajesh Pandey here. I have one query regarding is there any advancement or something related to
Advancement on. Can you please speak louder?
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm audible now.
Better.
Yeah. Any updates or functionality changes for output management on cloud related to the dynamic QR code changes? Because recently I have seen SAP has provided notes on the dynamic QR code related to the e-invoice India solution for on-premise platform, but I just have a query that regarding the cloud platform, how this functionality works on the dynamic QR code changes. for the
Rajesh,
form.
Rajesh, sorry, I really could not understand your question. It was bit on the slower side. Your voice.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just want to know about the dynamic QR code development for that of forms in this output management related to the cloud.
Okay. Is it available on dynamic Q? I think
Yeah.
QR. I think you can place the QR codes in the Adobe Forms on premise. I've done that. I think a similar way you should be able to do on the as for an output management as well. So Adobe Form functionality remains same.
Okay. Okay.
Hello.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So whatever you could do in Adobe Forms, I think Adobe Forms functionality remains same. It's the management which is changing.
Okay.
I think if I understood correctly, Rajesh wanted to discuss about that new e-invoicing India functionality, where government would like to display QR code, and he want to
Okay.
see like if standard output management delivered forms also compatible with that dynamic QR code or not.
Right.
Okay. I'm not aware, Rajesh. Then
This is
sorry.
quite functional or a specific
Uh,
thing, I think.
yeah, I haven't faced this thing. No customer has asked me for this, so no idea.
You see, I have mapped that dynamic QR code, and my friend, colleague who was working for another client for S4 HANA on premise, he has also done as the SAP has provided. But I had a query regarding this, whether they on cloud platform, whether it has been there or not, or anybody have an experience to work on those.
So sorry, uh, probably. I guys, are you able to understand clearly what Rajesh is saying? Because for me, it is coming quite low.
Yeah, his audio is low.
Audio is quite low. Yeah. Rajesh, maybe do one thing. You can just email us, right? And maybe if Gaurav has any input, he can get back to you, right? Because it's the voice is a bit feeble. It's very feeble.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I think Gaurav, great session, man. And we are already ideally our time was 12 to 2, but we normally wrap it up by 1:30. But it's okay. So you have anyone has any concern or queries? My WhatsApp is already bombarded with many messages, so I'll clear it. Any other suggestions, queries? Feel free to let us know here through chat or WhatsApp. And for next month, I would request people to come forward and nominate for their topics, suggestions, so that we would be announcing it soon, right? Any suggestions, any topic, node or ABAP or whatever is good for you. Anyone among you, feel free to send us your suggestions. We'll be really happy. Okay. And thank you. Thanks for joining once again. We'll close this session. Stay safe. Keep learning. Keep sharing. Gaurav, anything I missed? Or?
No, yeah, nothing. Good. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you, guys. Please
Thank you, everyone.
come up with some things to share with the community, guys. Okay. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.